Good evening, class, and welcome to our discussion for the last chapter on developmental psychology dealing with death and bereavement. Okay, just a moment. Ayan. So, marami tayong meanings ng death and dying. But before that, let me differentiate what is death and dying. Magkaiba sila Pag sinabi kasi nating death, ito yung cessation ng function ng buong katawan. Nag-stop na siya, wala na siyang ability to move, wala na siyang ability to function. Pag sinabi nating dying, gradual yung pagkawala ng ability. Ibig sabihin, unti-unti. So, people from different cultures and time periods, they understand death in different ways. Meaning, nagkakaroon ng changes, yung meaning of death, depende doon sa paniniwala, sa tradition, sa religion, and also sa society. So, we have cultural aspects of death. So, they care for the dying, yung behaviors nila towards doon sa patay, yung setting, and etc. So, culture, it affects how people treat someone who is dying and kung paano nila ino-honor yung mga taong namatay. So, doon sa care for dying, like I've mentioned earlier, ito yung paano sinusuportahan ng pamilya, ng mga doctors, or ng communities yung isang tao bago siya mamatay. Yung behavior naman towards death, this is how people show respect doon sa namatay. And also sa setting, ito yung paano binibigyan ng care yung taong namatay, paano siya ilibing, and saan nga ba siya ililibing, depende sa gusto ng pamilya. We also have mourning, customs, and rituals. Ito yung mga tradition na kung saan ang mga tao, they express their grief, kagaya sa mga lamay, sa yung mga padasal, nagsusuot sila ng itim na damit, or meron silang kinukuhang memorial services doon sa lamay. Example, dito sa Pilipinas, yung mga families, they meron silang lamay na ginagawa for several days na kung saan yung relatives, yung friends, they gather together to pray and support yung nagluluksang pamilya. So, nagkakaroon tayo ng changes doon sa causes ng death over time. So, noong 1900s, maraming people na namamatay from infectious diseases dahil yung medicine and sanitation ay hindi pa advanced. So, example niyan ay yung pneumonia, influenza, tuberculosis, diarrhea, and enteritis. Enteritis is the inflammation of intestines. So, today, nagkaroon na rin ng change, hindi na itong mga to ang common cause ng death. So, medical technology and vaccines, tumutulong sila to control yung iba't ibang nakakahawang mga sakit. Kaya nga lang kasi, marami pa rin ang namamatay dahil sa lifestyle-related illnesses na mas common na sa panahon ngayon. So, ngayon, ang leading causes ng death today are heart disease and cancer. So, bakit nagkakaroon ng pagbabago? Meron kasing, ang mga tao kasi ngayon, they now live longer. Pero meron silang mga unhealthy habits, kagaya ng paninigarilyo, yung poor diet, hindi sila nag-exercise, and minsan, mas stress sila na pwedeng mag-lead into chronic diseases. So, we have what we call thanatology. So, thanatology is a study of death and dying. Nagpo-focus siya sa kung paano nagre-react ang tao emotionally doon sa patay or sa pagkamatay. And also, meron ding yung process of dying, focus din siya doon, yung pagluluksa and yung pagmamore ng family, paano sila nagkukup doon sa pagkawala ng isang kapamilya, and also yung mga paniniwala such as cultural and religious belief tungkol sa patay. Okay, the process of dying. And the process of dying. So, hindi nangyayari ang process of dying at once. Madalas nangyayari ito sa stages na pwedeng maka-apekto sa isip, sa katawan, and sa social relationships. Let us first discuss physiological health. So, sa physiological health, nangyayari siya kapag ang vital organs ng katawan natin, it stops working. Yung digestive and respiratory systems, unti-unti siyang nagsha-shutdown. Yung paghinga, mas mas humihina, yung blood circulation bumabagal din, and yung skin, pwede rin siyang mag-develop ng purple or blotchy spots na tinatawag nating matling. Dagdag ko yan dito sa ating, no. Ito yan, yung sinasabi ko, yung agonal breathing. Ay, hindi pa pala. Joke lang. Ito, matling. Matling ang tawag dyan doon sa blotchy spots. Kumbaga may parang pasa-pasa. Okay, palakihin ko lang. Ayan. Ayan. So, itong process na to, it may happen within 72 hours or less bago mamatay yung tao. Okay? Example, yung very sick person, pwede na siyang mag-stop kumain, mahina na yung paghinga niya, as in, halos hindi mo marinig. And it become cold yung mga ibang parts ng katawan niya kasi nag-uumpisa nang mag-shutdown. Okay? So, naranasan ko to nung si lola ko. Somewhere in, sa Macayo, Alcala. So, mamamatay na siya. Pinuntahan namin siya. Halos hindi niya na kami makilala and hindi mo na talaga siya marinig. Tapos, nung time na yon, kinukuto na siya. Ang dami na niyang kuto. Ganun pala pag mamamatay na. Parang hindi pa lang siya nalilibing pero yung decomposition ay parang nag-i-start na. Ayan. Next is agonal breathing. This is the abnormal and yung gasping breath. Yung gasping is yung ganon, yung hinahabol na ganon, paisa-isa, tas parang pagod na pagod, tas hirap siyang kumuha ng hangin. Ganon yung agonal breathing. And it may happen kapag malapit na talagang mamatay. So, nangyayari to dahil yung brainstem, nag-fail na siya. Brainstem sa likod natin, sa may bandang batok. Yan. So, a person is considered brain dead or clinically dead kapag wala ng brain activity. Okay. So, meron kasi tayong tinatawag na brain dead lang. Pero yung katawan niya, nagpa-function pa din. Parang humihinga siya pa konti-konti. Pero the brain has no more activity. Okay? Ito yung sinasabi minsan ng mga doctor sa families na yung machine na lang po ang tumutulong sa kanya para mabuhay. Pero yung brain niya po, wala na kaming nakikitang activity. So, makikita ang brain activity through EEG. Okay? Nag-aralan na natin yung EEG last time. Okay. Next is vegetative state. So, vegetative state, it occurs when the higher part of the brain or yung cerebral cortex no longer works. Pero yung brainstem nagpa-function pa din. Vegetative state, ibig sabihin, natanggulay na siya. Okay, so pwede pa rin siyang huminga and meron pa rin siyang heartbeat, pero hindi na siya aware doon sa surroundings niya, pati sa sarili niya. Example, ang isang tao, they may open their eyes or they may move slightly. For example, yung mga fingers, pwede pa nilang galawin, pero hindi na sila nakaka-communicate or hindi na sila nakakapag-respond consciously. Kasi nga, yung cerebral cortex is hindi ka problema na and brainstem na lang ang gumagana. Kumbaga 50-50. Okay? We also have social death. So in social death, it happens before the physical death. Na kung saan yung family, yung friends, or yung society ng they may slowly withdraw doon sa dying person. Ibig sabihin, alam nilang may sakit na, parang unti-unti na natanggap na nila, okay, namamatay na siya. So, parang they move away. No, they withdraw slowly. So, nangyayari ito kapag ang isang tao ay may terminal illness. Terminal illness or meron siyang tanning. Yan. So, yung person na merong sakit, they may feel isolated or left out, na out of place sila. Next, we have the psychological death. So, here, it occurs kapag yung dying person, they emotionally accept death. Alam ko nang mamamatay ako. Mga ganon. And they may withdraw from others. Ayaw na nila makipag-usap. And gusto lang nila, mag-isa lang nila, and they reflect on their life. Especially kapag nasabihan na sila na, may tanning. Example, you only have 1 month to live, ganyan. So, they start to do the psychological death. Okay. Hospice care. Okay, so in hospice care, it is a compassionate care given to the people who are terminally ill or nearing the end of life. So, ang goal ng hospice care is to provide comfort and support kaysa gamutin pa yung illness. Kasi nga may may taning na yung buhay niya. So, sa hospice care, para siyang facility. Nandoon yung mga taong may taning na ang buhay. They only give emotional support or whatever they need physically habang naghihintay sila ng, alam nyo na. You know, this chapter class, it is very sensitive kasi we are talking about death. Kapag pamilya mo yung parang naiisip mo dito, parang nakakasad, diba? So, hindi man maganda ang nagiging ending palagi ng death site, but we have to accept that this chapter in our lives, nangyayari siya talaga. And kailangan natin siyang malaman, kailangan natin siyang pag-aralan. Okay, so, of all the subjects ng psychology, ito yung parang nasasad ako kasi grabe, ending na nga, tas mamamatay pa, parang ganon. Okay? So, mamamatay na si Baby Bogart natin. So, ang hospice care, they focus on the physical, emotional, and spiritual needs, kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina. And they support for the family, and they help the patient live comfortably and peacefully. Example, yung isang cancer patient, nasa final stage na siya, stage 4. And pwede siyang makareceive ng hospice care sa bahay or sa isang facility na kung saan yung mga nurses and family members nagpo-focus na sila sa comfort and emotional support. Okay, yung palliative care naman, this one, it helps improve the quality of life ng mga taong with serious illnesses. So, nag-focus siya to relieve the pain and suffering. Yan, kinokontrol yung mga symptoms kagaya ng pagsusuka or mahirap makahinga, ganyan. They reduce stress and also they help patients na maging comfortable as possible. So, hindi siya kagaya ng hospice care na ibibigay siya kapag sa hospice care kasi, diba, hinihintay na lang. Pero dito, they still receive treatment for the illness. May gamot pa din. Okay. Wait lang Ayan. Next, we have the care for the dying. So here, it focuses on helping terminally ill patients to feel comfortable, they feel respected, and supported during the final stage of their life. Ayan. So, hospice care, kagaya ng dinidiscuss ko kanina, parang na-ulit siya. Okay, wait lang. Okay. So, di ba sa hospice care, kumbaga, ulitin ko lang, sa hospice care, di ba, hinihintay lang yung buhay niya na matapos. Kasi nga, wala nang cure, terminal illness na siya. Pero dito, ang sa hospice care, pwede pa rin magkaroon ng palliative care. They provide usually palliative care. And dito, tinutulungan nila yung pasyente na mas maging comfortable and peaceful as possible. Okay? We have the terminal drop, or we also known as the terminal decline. This is the sudden decline ng isang yung cognitive process ng isang tao and yung mental abilities niya shortly before death. So, itong decline na to, pwede siyang mangyari kung yung edad ng isang tao or yung health condition niya and yung background niya is considered. For example, mas nakakalimot na sila ng mga bagay-bagay, hindi sila makakonsentrate, they become confused. Di ba sinabi ko kanina, yung lola ko halos din niya kami makilala nung mamatay na siya. So, ganun siya. Nagkaroon siya ng terminal drop kasi hindi niya na kami kilala. Tapos, they have slower thinking and responses. Kumbaga, sa sobrang confused nila, parang, ano yung sinasabi mo? Parang ganun. Hindi na nila maisip ng maayos. Okay, near-death experience. Okay, so sa near-death experience naman, this is a very unusual experience na sinasabi ng mga tao who were close to dying or they were temporarily unconscious. Okay, so common experiences, yung mga taong naka-experience ng near-death experience is they feel separated from their body or also known as the astral projection. And para daw silang nasa tunnel, naglalakad sila, ganyan. Nakakakita daw sila ng mga maliliwanag na ilaw. They feel at peace minsan, parang blanco lang. And they feel at peace and they have spiritual or mystical experiences, diba? Kasama na daw yung mga lolo't lola, mga ganyan. So the scientists, they believe that these experiences may be connected daw sa stimulation or damage sa isang certain part ng brain, especially sa frontal and occipital areas. So, near-death experiences, they are usually described as positive kasi yung brain natin, they may release chemicals na tinatawag na endorphins. And dito, nakakapag-create ng feelings of calmness and peace. Kaya mostly yung mga taong nakakaranas ng NDE is sinasabi nila they are at peace or yung place na nakikita nila sa NDE is tahimik. Yan. Or maliwanag, mga ganon. Kapag namamatay ang isang tao, meron tayong stages na pinagdadaanan. So, according to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, she described 5 stages of loss na i-experience ng mga tao kapag merong namamatay or merong major loss. So, itong mga stages na to, tinutulungan i-explain yung emotional reactions ng mga tao na pwede nilang i-experience after learning na meron silang taning or meron silang terminal illness or meron silang difficult life situation. Okay, so first stage, we have the denial stage. Sabi kasi nila, no, bago ko explain yung stages, no, minsan daw, itong stages na to iba-iba. Depende sa ng tao. Depende sa emotional state niya. Minsan galit siya bago niya i-deny or pwedeng nagbabargain muna siya or i-deny niya and then saka siya magagalit. Ganun. Pero according to Kubler-Ross, ito daw yung stages. So first, we have the denial. Ito yung pinaka-first reaction. And they may refuse to believe na yung sitwasyon, parang hindi ka panipaniwala. So they may feel too painful para sa kanila or very shocking. So ang denial, it helps to protect the person emotionally habang pinaprocess nila yung reality. Example lang, isang cancer patient, pwede niyang sabihin na, hindi ito nangyayari sa akin, hindi ito totoo. Hindi totoong may cancer ako. Okay, dinideny niya. Next, we have the anger. Okay, so anger, they may become frustrated, galit. Galit na, anger na, di ba? Or they may ask, bakit nangyayari yung sitwasyon na yun sa kanila. So, yung anger, it gives people emotional energy para mag-react doon sa painful situation. Example niyan, nalaman na niyang meron siyang cancer. Magagalit siya ngayon sa mga doktor, sa family members, or kahit sa sarili nila. Kasi parang sinisisi nila na, bakit ako nagkaroon ng cancer? Bakit hindi yung masasamang tao? Mga ganyan. Next, we have bargaining. So, nangyayari ito sa isang tao who tries to negotiate or nag-iisip pa siya ng ibang paraan para mabago yung sitwasyon. So, pwedeng they make promises or wish for more time. Example, nagalit na siya. So, makikipag-bargain na siya. Parang, kunwari, Dok, wala na bang ibang paraan para gumaling ako? Gagawin ko ang lahat para mapagaling mo lang ako. So, nakikipag-bargain na siya sa doktor. Kapag gumaling na po ako, promise ko, Dok, hindi ko nagagawin yung mga bawal, parang mga ganun. Okay, bargaining yun. Next, we have depression. So, it occurs kapag ang isang tao na uumpisahan na niyang maintindihan na may mawawala. So, malulungkot sila, they feel hopeless, takot sila, or they feel lonely. So, this is considered a normal part of coping with death and loss. Okay, acceptance. So, nangyayari ito kapag ang isang tao, they begin to peacefully accept na yung reality is nandyan na, patay na, namamatay na. But this doesn't mean na masaya sila sa acceptance yun, sa pagkamatay ng isang tao, pero they learn to move forward emotionally. Okay, so we have the patterns of grief. So here, when we say grief or pagluluksa in Tagalog, emotional reaction yan ng isang tao na kung saan nafe-feel nila after may mamatay sa kapamilya nila. So it is commonly experienced during the early stages after a loss. So they may feel sad, they may feel lonely, galit sila, confused sila, natatakot, or they may feel empty. So example, ang isang tao, iyak siya ng iyak dahil namatayan siya ng grandparent, parang mga ganon. So when we say bereavement naman, ito yung experience of losing someone close to them. So hindi lang siya moment of loss, but it is the process of adjusting sa buhay na wala na yung taong yun. Ano ba yan? Sabi dyan, no, it is also a process of adjustment. Diba? So, wala na siya. Kailangan mag-move forward. Parang ano din yan, jowa, gano'n. So, bereavement, it includes, yun nga, emotional adjustment, pagbabago sa daily life, kasi wala na nga, di mo na siya kasama, and learning how to cope with the loss. So, paano ka ngayon magko-cope? You may be productive sa trabaho, you may be with friends, ganyan. Pag sinabi naman natin grief work, okay, ayan, ito yung process na we deal with the understanding yung mga emotions na connected sa pagkawala. So, gradually, we are accepting the loss and we are learning how to move forward. So, we talk about our feelings, and sinasabi ko kanina, or ano ba yun? We try to remember the deceased person. We express emotions through crying or sharing memories. And also, mas unti-unti tayong nag-a-adjust sa buhay na wala na sila. So, para din siyang stages of grief. But, grief work is different for every person and hindi palagi sumusunod siya sa fixed order. Okay. Patterns of grief. Or what we call grief work stages. So, first we have the shock and disbelief. So, ito yung immediate reaction after yung pagkamatay ng isang tao. So, they may feel manhid or they are emotionally frozen. Kasi nga, parang nagulat yung isang tao na may namatay. So, namatay siya, parang gano'n. So, hindi mo alam paano ka magre-react. We have also confusion and also they deny, and it can be hard for them to fully understand kung ano talaga yung nangyari. So, as reality becomes clearer, yung emotional froze nila, it fades, and mas madalas napapalitan siya ng intense sadness or crying. Okay, so preoccupation with the memory of the dead person. So, itong stage na to, it can last from 6 months up to 2 years. Or pwede din mas mahigit pa. Itong stage na to, yung isang tao, iniisip niya yung namatay na loved one. Meron siyang strong emotions of namimiss niya, nalulungkot siya, or minsan may guilt feeling din silang nararamdaman. So, they may replay memories repeatedly. Nakasama pa nila yung tao niya. But, kahit ganun, it lessen over time and pwedeng bumalik pa minsan-minsan kahit na matagal ng panahon. Okay? We have the resolution. So, in resolution, this is the stage of adjustment and healing. So, unti-unti natatanggap na ng tao yung pagkawala, and they may regain interest in daily life and activities. And yung memories of the deceased, nag-i-exist siya, but they feel less painful. Hindi na kagaya dati. So, instead of intense sadness, yung memories, they may bring yung parang bang init and yung mild sadness na lang. Yan. So, grief often follows a high to low distress pattern na kung saan from very intense emotion muna, and then nagkakaroon ng gradual reduction ng emotional pain, and nagkakaroon ng return of sadness, pero hindi na siya ganun ka-overwhelming. Okay, next we have delayed grief. So we have different types of grief responses. Types of grief responses. Types of grief responses. Yan. So first we have yung delayed grief. So here, it happens kapag ang isang tao hindi na siya nagpapakita ng strong grief reactions pagkatapos nilang mamatayan. Controlled na siya, yung emotional pain nila nag-i-increase later, pero after over time, kumbaga. And yung symptoms, they are more noticeable after a delayed grief. The example ng delayed grief is, kunyari may lamay na matagal. Sasabihin nila okay lang sila, pero kapag nailibing na or after ilang weeks, dun sila nade-depress, they feel deeply emotional. Di lang yan weeks, pwedeng months or year. We have the chronic grief naman, kung saan ang isang tao na-experience niya intense grief for a long period of time. So, hindi nag-i-improve yung pagluluksa niya. and highly distressed siya. Pwedeng hindi na siya nagtatrabaho or ayaw niya na makipag-usap kasi nga nagluluksa siya. Chronic grief. We have the resilient grief or resilience. Ito yung healthier pattern ng coping kapag merong namamatay. So, ang isang tao na namatayan, they may show some sadness pero manageable. And yung pagluluksa nila, medyo nababawasan pa unti-unti habang tumatagal and they slowly return to normal functioning. So, in children, no, yan. Actually, nasa study mats nito, pakicheck nyo na lang. So, children, they develop an understanding of death gradually. So, around age 4, the children, they begin to understand na death is biological and permanent. Pero, yung understanding nila is still incomplete. So, pwede nilang isipin na natutulog lang yung bangkay or pwedeng sabi nila ay nag-rest siya, mamaya gising na siya, parang mga ganun. Saan na tayo? The terror management theory. So, this explains how humans, wait lang, so this explains, ano ba yan? How humans react emotionally and psychologically to the awareness of death. So, sinasabi ng terror management theory na ang mga tao, they are aware na death is unavoidable and it can create fear and anxiety. So, para ma-manage yung fear na yon, ang mga tao, umaasa sila sa cultural beliefs, sa religion, yung self-esteem nila, personal meaning, and also social values and identity. Okay. Okay, dito na tayo. Balik tayo dito. So, under 3 years old, children, they cannot fully understand yung death. So, pwede sila mag-react through emotions and body behavior. Iyak sila, takot sila, ganyan. Di rin sila kakain, may sleep problems, ganyan. Pag 3 to 5 years old naman, they start to ask questions, pero hindi pa rin nila totally naiintindihan na death is permanent. Sa school-age children, they understand death more, pero pwede silang mag-struggle na i-express yung feelings nila. Kumbaga, kung may namatay, hindi sila umiiyak, pero parang tinatago nila yung emosyon nila, ganun. Sa mga school-age children. And in adolescence, they understand death like adults, pero pwede sila makapag-express pa rin ng pagluluksa nila in a risky or emotional ways. So, pwede silang magkaroon ng suicide attempts, ganyan. They may drop out of school. Meron silang physical complaints, depression, and ganyan. So, children of different ages, they do not grieve the same way. Instead of always saying na nalulungkot ako, they may show yung pagluluksa nila through changes in their behavior, may mga physical symptoms, yung emotional reactions, or yung school or social problems. Next, we have the significant losses. So here, major losses in life, they can affect people emotionally, physically, and socially. So yung mga effects na to and meaning of loss, they can also depend doon sa situation and yung relationship involved. So letter A, we have the physical and emotional effects of bereavement, especially in women. So bereavement, sometimes they can cause physical symptoms in addition to emotional pain. So women, they may experience loss through headaches, memory problems, nahihirapan sila mag-concentrate, nahihilo, indigestion, nawawalan ng ganang kumain, and merong chest pain. The loss of a source of growth, although loss is painful, no, but it may also lead to personal development. So, they may encourage na magkaroon ng reflection sa buhay-buhay, and they may lead to emotional strength and maturity. Kapag ka nawalan naman ng parent in adulthood, they can deeply affect adult development. So with that, it may lead to a stronger sense of identity, nagkakaroon sila ng awareness ng sarili nilang mortality, and greater purpose and responsibility, and also a stronger relationship with others. Sa sibling relationships naman, after parental death, pwede ang magkakapatid, they become closer. Pwedeng sinusuportahan din nila yung isa't isa emotionally. Kapag nawalan naman ng anak, this is one of the most painful experiences kasi pwedeng maapektuhan ang marriage and pwedeng maghiwalay yung parents nila. Sabi, parang naano ako na. Sorry. Binabasa ko kasi yung ini-internalize ko kasi yung topic. So, parang nakakasad naman, no? Okay, moving forward, let's go to medical, legal, and ethical issues or the right to die. So, these issues, they deal with decisions about life, death, and medical care. So, kagaya kanina sinasabi ko, pag brain death or brain death, ito yung medical condition na kung saan lahat ng brain activity, they permanently stop and the brain can no longer function. Even if yung puso, it's still beating with machines, ang isang tao, they are legally considered dead. Euthanasia naman, or ang tawag dito din is mercy killing. So, this is a good death na kung saan inaalaw yung isang tao na mamatay peacefully para matapos na yung paghihirap niya. So, ginagawa ito para ma-relieve yung pain na hindi niya na makayanan because of terminal illness. We also have the passive euthanasia. So, here, ito yung pag-withhold or pag-i-stop na ng medical treatment na nakakabuhay pa sa tao, like yung life support or yung machines na sinasabi ko kanina. Pero kailangan ito ng consent ng family. And we also have the active euthanasia. Ayan. Ay, ito mercy killing, sinasabi ko na kanina. So, ito yung direct action na ginagawa to end a person's life. So, generally, illegal siya sa ibang bansa or sa ibang lugar. Meron tayong tinatawag din na advance directive na kung saan this is a legal document na sinasabi na kunyari, ako, meron akong advance directive. Sinasabi ko na kapag ka na 50-50 ako or yung machine is yung code blue, parang ganon, nag-stop yung heartbeat ko, wag na akong i-CPR. Or may tinatawag tayong, sulat ko dito. Isa ito sa example ng advance directive. DNR or do not resuscitate. Ibig sabihin, wag na siyang i-CPR. So, meron, siya, parang waiver. Yan. Siya ang nag-request with the power of the attorney. Okay. So, dito na tayo, speaking of attorney. So, durable power of attorney, this is a legal document na kung saan yung patient, ina-assign niya yung isang abogado to make medical decisions in behalf sa kanya. So, kunwari, nagkaroon naman ng hindi na siya makapag-decide yung patient kasi nga umamatay na siya. So, attorney ang mag-decide in behalf of him or her. Assisted suicide naman, mangyayari ito kapag ang isang tao gusto na nilang i-end yung buhay nila. Pero, ang assisted suicide, hindi ibig sabihin na gusto mo na magpakamatay is pupunta ka lang sa doktor. Hindi. Tandaan, ang mga doctors, they have ethics. May code of ethics sila. Hindi pwedeng basta-basta lang na patayin nila ang isang tao or i-assist sila sa suicide. So, this is highly controversial, no? And this is illegal in many countries. Kasi alam niyo naman, pag suicide, hindi maganda. Okay? Dali lang. Next, we have finding meaning and purpose in life and death. So, here, ay, wala. Wait lang. Wait lang. Yan. So, life review, it is when a person, they think back sa buhay nila, parang they watch their memories sa isip nila, parang may playback ba? Para maintindihan nila na meron nga bang silbi yung buhay nila. So, hindi lang kasi siya remembering events, but they reflect deeply sa experiences nila. Yung mga achievements, yung mga success nila, mga pagkakamali, yung mga relationship, yung mga life choices nila, and yung happy and difficult moments. So, importante ang life review because they understand their own life story. Nagkakaroon sila ng lessons from their past experiences and feeling nila meron silang purpose in life. And tinatanggap nila yung buhay nila, especially during old age or near the end of life. So, with life review, they make peace, pero may regrets or meron silang unresolved feelings. Okay, so that ends our discussion for dealing with death and bereavement. So, ito na yung last topic natin for developmental psychology.